Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking all about the upcoming pattern, a few storms that are coming up, a few flip-flops in the pattern as far as where the cold air is going to be located. There's a few things to talk about that we need to go over today. We're also going to be taking a look at the remnants, the very tail end of the current storm that we've been talking about for about a week now. Anyways, before I get into this video, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. For today's comment of the day, I want to know, over the course of the rest of February, really, where do you think the cold is going to be centered the most? The western United States, the central United States, or the eastern United States? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get straight into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at our current radar imagery, and there's not quite as much to talk about as there usually is or has been over the past, I don't know, a few days for sure at least. We can see there is a bit of energy located up here in the north central United States over here. Also, that extends all the way into the northwestern United States, and then along the eastern seaboard and just offshore, we can see a ton of activity taking place, especially offshore now as that cold front passed through. It was about 70 degrees last night. Like, it was dark out in Virginia. And it was 70 degrees. It got up to 75 yesterday, and now it's 35 outside. So that just kind of gives you perspective of how cold this cold front really was, and just the difference between being on the eastern side of it or the western side of it. It was truly an interesting situation for sure. Let's just move into the northwestern United States real quickly. I just want to go over a few of these different regions. We are seeing near Seattle there is some precipitation around, and there's some showers that wanted to pop up around Portland. Those kind of dissipated over time though. And also, as we draw our attention further eastward, here around the borders of Idaho and Montana, there has been some snowfall around there, especially for the mountainous regions, likely accumulating as it's just kind of stuck around, literally. And there's probably been a few inches that have accumulated from this pocket of snow showers that have been around for hours and hours and hours. I'm sure it is super cold as well, and that doesn't hurt the chances of accumulation either. To say the least. Now, we do have a bit of a minor clipper system, I would call it, here for portions of Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and even extending into Wisconsin as well at points. The heaviest of this snowfall has taken place kind of right here in this corridor. So for a lot of the eastern regions of North Dakota, northeastern South Dakota there, and then a lot of Minnesota as well. And this is going to just move straight down through Wisconsin and probably into Michigan eventually as well. We'll take a look at that on the model guidance, but that's just my assumption based on where this thing is currently moving. Now, it is worth noting that there's a lot of lake effect snowfall taking place just across multiple lakes here. We do see for Michigan and Indiana, we've had some pockets of heavier lake effect. That's probably where the heaviest lake effect has been taking place. Near Cleveland, there's been a band of that lake effect snow taking place also. And then just around New York here, we see kind of to the west of the Finger Lakes regions, we see that, and then also up north here of the Finger Lakes regions as well. We do see some of these lakes trying to get going, as again, there was very warm air around, which warms up the surface of those lakes, and then the cold air blasts through, and that's what really brings the lake effect snowfall. So you might be seeing some tail end lake effect snowfall taking place. Now, as we move to the northeast, has been where the most of this storm has still been taking place. We see after the cold front passed through, there is a pocket of snowfall that's been taking place, especially here in this inner circle. And really, I guess, especially here in the southern New England region, there was two pockets of it. We see this line moving through at the very end, but right there, so that's between 1 and 4 a.m., we did actually have a heavy pocket of snowfall still taking place for areas near eastern Connecticut there, eastern Massachusetts, all of Rhode Island, obviously, and I would say especially in areas between Boston and Providence, and if you take that further southeast, where we watch that play out there. Again, the bright whites and then even the blues is where we have very, very heavy snowfall. The grays is going to be your light to moderate snowfall. So that's how I've set up this color table to work. And then we see this cold front, the tail end of it kind of blast through after. So you kind of got a 1-2 punch there as we see snowfall there at the tail end. That's going to linger around but really be dissipating here by the time everybody's pretty much waking up. It's 7 a.m. right now. And, you know, some people wake up on a Saturday around 8 or 9, you know, obviously. I think it'll be mostly said and done by that point for a lot of these regions. Now, as we move into these regions here, like Kentucky here, southern Ohio at points, West Virginia, even East Virginia, if you will. That's kind of where I live. So nobody calls it that. It's not West Virginia. It's normal Virginia. It's the only state where there's two versions of it, and one just has the name. It would be like North Carolina just being Carolina, and then South Carolina being South Carolina. It doesn't really make sense to me, but you know what? I didn't make the name of the state, so what is it? What is it to me? We can see that this pocket of snowfall, unlike all the other pockets around the United States, is actually getting more intense as time goes on. We can see around 2 a.m., 3 a.m. time frame, there was nothing, and then around 4, 5, 6, this is actually becoming a more widespread snowfall shower event. By the way, it's not switching to rain. The precipitation typing is actually just turning off there at the end, which does annoy me, but this is all snow still. It doesn't switch to rain at the end. There you go, it stopped doing that. Just as I'm talking about it. Okay, so you can see it is all snow. Near Charleston, Roanoke, Virginia here, the southwestern regions of Virginia, and then even eastern Connecticut there as well have been seeing those snow showers. As we move further south, we can see there has been some thunderstorm activity down here at points. We do have the lightning on, so we will see if any of that does occur. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these were in the form of thunderstorms near the Tampa and Orlando region here, kind of in the central regions of Florida, and then also southern Georgia there. I'll kind of move this up a little bit. Some of those look like they could have been thunderstorms as well, and they're at points, as you can see. I want to just zoom in and see if we can see if any of this did have some lightning with it. So this band is actually intensifying as it's heading towards Palm Bay, maybe Merritt Island as well. We see those regions there along the eastern seaboard of Florida. That is intensifying. So yeah, there might be some thunderstorms around. But overall, in the United States, things are a little bit active right now between especially the Clipper, the lake effect, and these thunderstorms going on. You can see that lightning there for sure. But this is going to be quieting down, and we did talk about yesterday how the upcoming pattern, at least in the short to moderate range, we do expect things to be very, very quiet. So we're going to need to talk about that in just a moment. Okay, so as we take a look at the temperature anomalies, you can tell there's absolutely frigid air here in the United States, especially the east here. As you can see, especially those magentas and those blues, that's indicating temperatures that are about 15 to even 30 degrees or more below what is typical. So this is very, very frigid air, and especially moving over the lakes, we were able to see that looking just at the radar, because if there's lake effect snowfall taking place, we know that there is some pretty frigid air taking place. Now, this is by the time we're taking a look at, I would say this is approximately 8 p.m. here on Sunday, so tomorrow from the time I'm making this video, and we can see things that are still pretty cold here in the east. This temperature, or this pattern overall, is going to be flip-flopping, like I said. So this is by the time we're looking at 8 p.m. here on Wednesday, or sorry, better yet, Tuesday. We do see a bit of a trough there in the eastern United States. Overall, very warm here in the west. But this is the end of that pattern, so we are flipping back into a warmer pattern in the east for a little bit here, or overall the United States. So probably what's happening here is what we call a zonal pattern, really, where the jet stream isn't dipping and it's not troughing and ridging really. It's just heading straight through. So the areas up here are seeing more near normal conditions. We're seeing very warm temperatures around the United States and southern Canada. That is a zonal pattern. We do get an Arctic blast here according to the GFS model, though. That does take place around, I would say, Friday into Saturday, and that's going to be the 11th through the 12th of February. So that will be something to watch for. Then we get a warm-up. Again, flip-flop. This is Sunday, February 13th. And then we already have another trough moving in by the time we're reaching about 2 a.m. here on Tuesday, February 15th. So again, now our jet stream looks like this again. You can tell that there will be snowfall opportunities potentially in the eastern United States, because as these cooldowns move down, if at the same time this southern jet wants to meet up with it, that's when we would get some potential here in this region. That's what we saw in January with some of those snowstorms. That's what we could see in February. Now, things change in a big way by the time we're reaching about the 17th here on the GFS model. We see a big trough in the west and a massive ridge there in the east. Warm air likely pouring into these regions on this frame according to this model. And that goes a lot more with what my February forecast indicated. And this is the pattern that I expected more of. What's interesting by this frame is we're seeing cold air kind of reinforce its way back in behind the ridge. So this pattern would be very extreme, but we would see something like this. And this air would be racing to the north. You would see strong, strong winds likely up and down the east coast as these far above normal temperatures race in. And you would also see very, very strong winds down here where this cold air is racing southward, and likely a strong cold front developing here. Let's actually switch to our simulated radar because I want to confirm this. Yeah, so I guess the cold front's a little bit more further along than I anticipated, but definitely this is an intense pattern. You can tell, even just looking at the temperature anomalies, if you have an eye for it, that this is likely, I think the cold front wouldn't be this advanced with where that low pressure system is. That's a little strange, but um, definitely this is a pattern that we see frequently when we see cold air pouring into these regions and warm air heading north here. We usually see a cold front somewhere in between, and because again, it's moving just like this, and then we see generally this will move eastward up here at certain points. Sometimes they will kind of retransfer here and then head up the coast. There's drawings all over the screen now. And what that does is that allows for this cold front to really impact these regions. Then we would have a follow-up with very cold air in these regions. So let's just take a look at that. So this is when the pattern could get more active, and this is very, very long range, so take it with a grain of salt. There's no guarantee that we're going to get into an active pattern anytime soon. But as we advance this, obviously that cold air pours into the eastern United States as this low pressure system is probably here and the cold front's probably offshore. A lot like what you saw on the actual radar this morning when I started this video, what you saw on the active radar and the temperature anomalies that we see happening right now in the United States behind that cold front, that would be very similar to what we're dealing with right now. I want to backtrack all the way and just take a look at our simulated radar all the way through, just to show you how unactive things are really going to be. I mean, there is this potential weak nor'easter here that could develop in just a couple of days. Unless this trends in a much colder direction, this is going to be a pretty boring storm. Maybe a tiny bit of rain, a tiny bit of wind, but really this doesn't become a snowfall event for anywhere. So we see this one really just move up, and there's not enough cold air along the coast to really develop into anything. Now, this is interesting that we start to get these clippers here that kind of become nor'easters. That's called a Miller B nor'easter. So we see this happen. I'll leave this on screen. So they're going to move like this. So you see we get storm number 1 moves right along that line and tries to develop up the coast. Storm number 2 doesn't really develop up the coast. Storm number 3 is a lot further north. But we get this kind of flow that brings the precipitation like that. As you can see, that follows that arrow a little bit. And that is an interesting pattern. That's a lot like what we saw in 2014 to 2015 winters. And that's when we saw a ton of snowfall for New England, like record amounts of snowfall for this region, because we kept just persistently getting these snowstorms that would head in like this that would bring 10 to 20 inches of snow. Because what happens is they get out here and then they start really strengthening over water. And that brings heavy, heavy snowfall once it redevelops for these regions. And that's when Boston saw just like record amounts of snowfall. So we see that pattern actually persist with a lot of those clipper systems moving through, as you can see, during that time period. And then we get that major storm that we saw earlier. So anyway, pretty boring pattern unless we can get those clippers to start developing into nor'easters. That could make things interesting. Also, the southern jet at any point could meet up with that northern jet. And really, when we see these troughs move into the eastern United States, there's always potential there. So I would say anything but further out than 100 hours, things could definitely change. So between now and at least mid next week, I think we will be in a quieter pattern overall. I think the models will have a good handle on all of this. But beyond that point, things could definitely change a lot and in a very intense way. So there's no guarantee beyond mid next week that we won't kind of re-enter a active pattern, even though the models aren't showing it right now. That's at the range where they tend to kind of change at points. So we will be watching for that. We will be updating you guys daily. So be sure to subscribe and watch out for our daily uploads so we can keep you up to date with the latest information. For today's confidence tab, we remain at a 4 out of 6. I really feel like I'm confident through midweek, like I said, but beyond that, my confidence is a little bit lower. That brings us to a pretty middle point of a 4 out of 6. For today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, when do you think we could have another major winter storm? And PJB2773 said, there will be another major storm in the last half of February, but it probably won't reach the level of massive storm that just took place. It's hard to really say, what will happen that far out, but I definitely think that there will be big storms at a certain point during a 1-month period. It would be probably the, record quietest month if there was no major storm somewhere. So we know it's coming likely at a certain point for a certain place. We just don't know when that is or where that is at this point. So time will tell. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons, Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovey Nagel, Earl the Pan, Mandy Birchfield, Patrick Strickland, Dave Scott, and Donna Carnes as well. I would also like to thank our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Corolla, Capite, Charles Tennant, Bill Dallas, Gary's, and John Cleese also. I would also like to thank our channel members Catbite, Steven Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.